A man and his wife are at a high school reunion. The husband keeps staring at a gorgeous drunken lady swigging her gin at a nearby table, glass after glass. His wife turns to him and asks, "Do you know her?" "Yes," sighs the husband. "She's my ex-wife," he explains. "She took to drinking right after we divorced 7 years ago, and I hear she hasn't been sober since." "My God," exclaims the wife. "Who would think a person could go on celebrating for that long?" A very elderly couple is celebrating their 75th wedding anniversary. The man says to his wife, "Dear, there is something that I must ask you. It has always bothered me that our 10th child never looked quite like the rest. Now, I want to assure you that these 75 years have been the most wonderful experience I could have ever hoped for, and your answer could not take all of that away. But I must know, did he have a different father?" The wife drops her head, unable to look her husband in the eye, and then confesses, "Yes, he did." The old man is very shaken, the reality hitting him harder than he expected. With a tear in his eye, he asks, "Who? Who was he? Who was the father?" Again, the woman drops her head, saying nothing at first as she tries to muster the courage to tell the truth to her husband. Then finally she says to him, "It was you." After a long night of making love, Ben rolled over, pulled out a cigarette from his jeans, and searched for his lighter. Unable to find it, he asked Penny if she had one at hand. "There might be some matches in the top drawer," she replied. He opened the drawer of the bedside table and found a box of matches sitting neatly on top of a framed picture of another man. Naturally, the guy began to worry. "Is this your husband?" he inquired nervously. "No, silly," she replied, snuggling up to him. "Your boyfriend, then?" he asked. "No, not at all," she said, nibbling away at his ear. "Well, who is he, then?" demanded the bewildered guy. Calmly, Penny replied, "That's me before the operation." A married woman with 4 children was sitting alone at a bar enjoying a cocktail after work one night. Suddenly, the bar door opened and the most gorgeous hunk of a man she had ever seen entered. He was tall, muscular, and handsome, with thick dark hair and beautiful, sparkling green eyes, and his every movement was so masculine and sensuous that the woman could not help but stare. The man noticed that he was the object of the woman's rapt attention, and with a sly, sexy smile, approached her. Blushing, she prepared to apologize for staring, but he leaned close and whispered in her ear, "I'll do anything," he whispered in a deep, soft voice. "Anything. Absolutely anything you want, anything you have ever fantasized, for $50. There's just one condition." Trembling with anticipation, the woman asked him the condition. The man said, "You have to tell me what you want me to do in just 3 words." The woman gazed into his hypnotic eyes, considering the proposition, then reached into her handbag and took out $50. She scribbled her address on a napkin, folded it around the cash, and pressed it into his waiting hand. She leaned over and whispered into his ear, "Clean my house." A guy decides to buy his new girlfriend a pair of gloves for Christmas. After all, they've only been dating for 3 weeks, so it seems like the ideal gift, romantic, yet not too personal. He asks the girlfriend's younger sister to accompany him to buy them, so she can point out a pair she'd like. They go to the mall and the sister points out a pair of white gloves, which the guy then buys. The sister then picks up a pair of panties for herself and buys them. But during the wrapping, the clerk mixes up the parcels without anyone realizing. As a result, the sister gets the gloves, and the guy takes home a gift box containing the panties. Without checking, the guy rushes the gift to his sweetheart, but only after drafting this loving and helpful note to accompany it. The note says, "To my dearest, I chose these because I noticed you are not in the habit of wearing any when we go out in the evening. If it had not been for your sister, I would have chosen the long ones with the buttons, but she wears the short ones that are easier to remove. These are a delicate shade, but the lady I bought them from showed me a pair she'd been wearing for the last 3 weeks, and they were hardly soiled. I had her try yours on for me, and she looked really smart. I wish I was there to put them on for you the first time. There's no doubt other hands will come in contact with them before I have a chance to see you again. When you take them off, remember to blow in them before putting them away, as they will naturally be a little damp from wearing. Just think how many times I will kiss them during the coming year. I hope you will wear them for the coming Christmas Eve." 2 Texans die and end up in hell. Satan decides to pay them a visit, so he walks into their room and sees them talking and laughing. Confused, he asks them why they're happy. They tell him, "Well, it's been bitterly cold where we're from, and this place is nice and toasty." Satan, annoyed, storms away and goes to Hell's boiler room, where he turns up the temperature. He goes back to the Texans' room, along the way being begged by all sorts of people to put the heating back down. He enters the room to see the Texans having a barbecue. Furiously, he asks them what they're doing. "Well, we can't pass up this wonderful weather without getting out the barbecue." Satan realizes he's been doing the wrong thing. He goes to the boiler room and turns it down until it's at a colder temperature than ever seen on Earth. He knows he's won now, so he goes back to the Texans' room, only to see them jumping up and down in excitement. He shouts at them in fury, "Why are you still happy?" They look at him and shout at the same time. Hell froze over. That means the Cowboys won the Super Bowl. A priest is driving his car down a sunny country road when he sees a nun waiting at a bus stop. He pulls over and offers her a lift. The young nun thanks him, puts her luggage in the trunk, and sits down in the passenger seat next to the priest. As they set off, the nun shifts to fasten her seatbelt, and her gown opens slightly to reveal a lovely leg. The priest glances down and nearly has an accident. After getting the car under control, he can't help but put his hand on her knee, slowly sliding it up her leg. The nun looks at him and immediately says, "Father, remember Psalm 129. The priest gets flustered and apologizes profusely. He forces himself to remove his hand. However, he is unable to remove his eyes from her leg. Further on, while changing gear, he lets his hand slide up her leg again. The nun once again says, "Father, remember Psalm 129. Once again, the priest apologizes. "Sorry, sister, but the flesh is weak." Arriving at the convent, the nun gets out, gives him a meaningful glance, and goes on her way. On his arrival at the church, the priest rushes to retrieve a Bible and looks up Psalm 129. The psalm said, "Go forth and seek, further up you will find glory." 3 bulls heard via the grapevine that the rancher was going to bring another bull onto the ranch, and the prospect raised a discussion among them. The first bull says, "Boys, we all know I've been here 5 years. Once we settled our differences, we agreed on which 100 of the cows would be mine. Now, I don't know where this newcomer is going to get his cows, but I ain't giving him any of mine." The second bull says, "That pretty much says it for me, too. I've been here 3 years and have earned my right to the 50 cows we've agreed are mine. I'll fight him till I run him off or kill him, "But I'm keeping all my cows." The third bull says, "I've only been here a year, and so far you guys have only let me have 10 cows to take care of. I may not be as big as you fellows yet, but I am young and virile, so I simply must keep all my cows." They had just finished their big talk when an 18-wheeler pulls up in the middle of the pasture with only one animal in it, the biggest son of another bull these guys had ever seen. At 4,700 pounds, each step he took toward the ground strained the steel ramp to the breaking point. The first bull says, You know, it's actually been some time since I really felt I was doing all my cows justice anyway. I think I can spare a few for our new friend." The second bull says, "I'll have plenty of cows to take care of if I just stay on the opposite end of the pasture from him. I'm certainly not looking for an argument." They look over at their young friend, the third bull, and find him pawing the dirt, shaking his horns, and snorting up a storm. The first bull says, "Son, let me give you some advice real quick. Let him have some of your cows and live to tell about it." The third bull says, "Heck, he can have all my cows. I'm just making sure he knows I'm a bull." Subscribe to the channel. This is important. It will help me continue my work.